there, and welcome to the Underrated Anime series, where I go into my deep bag of anime and show you guys just some underrated anime that I think deserve a little bit more love out there. Yes, I know I haven't done this series for a little bit, or a couple of months. I've just been really busy with everything. Things are picking up, but I want to go back to this to give some love to some series that don't get much, especially since there is a lot out there, and as we go through all of the seasons of anime, I would definitely love to check out more and give them to you guys. But of course, you know how this works. We got 3 to 5 anime to talk about. Today we're only going to be focusing on 3, and I'll probably be doing that for this foreseeable future. But we do have 3 anime loaded up for this week to talk about, so how about we go ahead and just dive right in. Kaya-chan Isn't Scary is an anime that actually released this year during the winter season, and it came out between January 11th and March 29th. And the studio who is working on Kaya-chan Isn't Scary is Eastfish Studios, which actually has only been around for a little bit. Their first anime in 2019 was Unlocking Tanisha. And at least to the better acknowledgement of myself, there doesn't seem to be anything else really notable in their library so far. And I do know for a lot of people, saying that a studio only existed back in 2019 only seems very recent, but when you compare it to studios like Toei Animations, Peridot, Mappa, and many others that have been around for decades upon decades upon decades, yeah, Eastfish Studios is relatively new compared to the big boys. Actually, I need to make a correction on that. There is another anime that's actually pretty notable that also came out this year called In the Clear Moonlight Dusk, which in my opinion is another underrated gem that I'm going to have to talk about at some point, but just not in this video. When I picked up Kaya-chan Isn't Scary, I originally thought that this anime was just going to be a episodic exploration of kid fight ghost and just that's it. I really wasn't expecting us to go any deeper than that, and really not go as far as just exploring the school time and maybe some home stuff. But I gotta hand it to both the creator of the story and the studio. Kaya-chan Isn't Scary is actually a decently told story. Yes, the story still has its one-off stories, but it still affects the overall grand scheme of how the anime plays into the overall story. We might only get the chance to see one ghost here, one ghost there, but it will still affect the characters in the long run. As certain characters will get affected by certain ghosts and certain interactions, they may either get more affected and scared of Kaya-chan, or actually understand that, hey, maybe this kindergartner girl or this little girl that we were trying to avoid at the playground isn't actually all that crazy. And all of that does add on to the overall plot of Kaya-chan trying to deal with whatever entity lives within her mother's place. Which that gets super deep into family history and the mother's intentions and the whole family's intentions and outside forces that just play really well into everything. They even go as far as to set rules and boundaries for the actual spirit world that exists. One of my favorite examples from Kaya-chan is the fact that there are ghosts out there that actually linger around people, kind of like reapers, but there are multiple of them that are near death, that aren't necessarily dangerous unless you interact with them very, very directly like Kaya-chan does. But overall, these ghosts aren't necessarily bad. They're just there to insinuate and make people notice that, hey, your time is close and we will guide you to the afterlife when that time comes. A story such as Kaya-chan Isn't Scary doesn't really have to do that in a sense, but it does, and I extremely appreciate it for that. And it sounds insane to give such little effort some praise for a show like this, but when you go in not expecting much and expecting a show to be kind of substandard, the fact that you go in and you see the show putting in effort is cool. Just a little effort can push a whatever anime up to like a pretty decent quality. Like the fact that a lot of the interactions in the world actually do make sense. Sure, there are situations that I think is crazy, such as the school teacher talking to some random dude who's been lingering around the kindergarten. Most people would not react the same way as she did, but when you give the context of her seeing Kaya-chan with a ghost and actually seeing her ghost herself and seeing that, hey, Kaya-chan might be, you know, more in tune with certain things than we thought, yeah, that's a bit more understandable. Again, it's just little efforts like that that make me care a lot about shows that decide to put in effort. I'm always happy to go into a show that I assume either won't put much effort or it'll just be a substack of whatever the fuck is out that season, only to be impressed by it by just the little bit of effort in certain places that matter. This is why I make these type of videos, because stuff like this is impressive, and I really hope that more people go ahead and watch Kaya-chan because of it. The next anime we're going to be talking about is Now Lou Genetic Romance. God, I hope I said Naolu right. I apologize if I'm not. I don't know how to say it. Now you're going ahead and ask yourself, why is Naolu generic romance on here when it was actually a fairly big anime to come out last year? And yes, I would agree with you. It is a big anime that actually came out. However, I really do not think Naolu generic romance properly got the love that it deserved. Now, I may understand why it did, but we'll get to that later. Naolu Generic Romance is an anime that came out all the way in 2025 of last year. It was made by Studio Arvo, the same studio that made the We Never Learn series, which I'm surprised that got a second season in a movie. I'm just surprised that is a property that is continuously getting stuff. Again, no hate on people who like it. I didn't think it was bad. I'm just surprised. But on the more positive side, I am so in love with Naolu Generic Romance. I think about this anime so much on my day-to-day life. You have no idea how much I fell in love with this. The only animes right now that could rival how much I love it in terms of the romances is My Happy Marriage and Your Lie in April. That is how much, for me, I fell in love with Naolu Generic Romance. I love the overall exploration of the struggle of trying to move away from your past. The idea that you want to cling on to this idea of yourself from the past so desperately that it's almost harming you into a sense to the point where you are quite literally making delusions, and how it's tough to really move on, whether it be the idea of your old self or idea of your old love, or the idea that maybe there is something more that you can do, the idea of revenge, the idea of the loved ones. Grief is probably the biggest one that Naolu Generic Romance explores. It's so beautiful and heart-wrenching in so many ways. I truly can't tell you how deep all this shit goes. I think that's one of the biggest strengths for Naolu Generic Romance, is that there feels like there's a sort of idea for everybody. There's so many different versions of trying to move on from the past that I feel like anybody can watch this and completely understand what each character is going through to an extent. And the overall idea of, hey, it's a struggle to move on, but you have to do it. Regardless if you want to or not, you're going to be healthier because of it. This is why I like shows like this, shows that explore the harsh truth that a lot of us probably need to hear at some point in our lives. It comes with a lot of pain, it comes with a lot of suffering, it comes with a lot of crying and anger and so many different emotions, but you need to do it. Even for other people, if that might mean quite literally leaving everything that you built behind. And also, to put the cherry on top of everything, it's an adult romance, and for most people, they're not going to care. But the idea of seeing adult themes and adult ideas being explored with actual adults is nice. Don't get me wrong, I still love the My Happy Marriage is the World that are able to take love and romance and actually explore it in a really good and healthy way inside the school setting. But oh my fucking god, is there so many that just don't do it right and do such a poor job at it. And even the ones that do a good job, I'm just tired of constantly seeing it in high school. Maybe it's because now I'm just older, I'm almost 30. I would just love to appreciate more romances that actually take place in the adult world. I don't even care if everyone I see takes place in an office setting, and I've seen a lot of those. But it's just nice to get actual adult romances that deal with actual adults doing adult things and going through adult struggles. Now, as much as I praised Naolu Generic Romance for everything it did, unfortunately, this does have to be my very first asterisk for this series. Mainly because a couple of weeks before I decided to record this, we actually got the announcement that Naolu Generic Romance's manga just ended. Now, why would this necessarily be a concern for people watching the anime? Well, a big reason for that is because the anime came out last year, and for the most part, it seems like it was only going to get one season, and it felt very, very final. That means there is a year's worth of manga content that is not only in the first season, but will most likely never get animated. What's even worse is that Naolu Generic Romance now has an anime-only ending, which actually makes a lot of sense given the fact of how kind of weird the ending for the anime was. Now, I wanted to still put it on here because I still think the Naolu Generic Romance anime is still good. It's still high quality and it's still amazing. However, I do think that it is important to note the fact that there is a manga out there that has its own ending separate from the anime and more different content from the anime. If we ever get some movie or maybe even a reboot retroactively putting this out, I will take away that asterisk, as it will no longer apply. But for now, if you're watching this at any point and you go into the comments and you don't see that takeaway, just remember, unfortunately, that does exist. But please don't let that stop you from watching Kowloon Generic Romance. I still love it despite that, and it is still a really, really good anime that I think most people should go out of their way to watch, because it's heartwarming in the most just depressing of ways, and I think a lot of people could benefit from its message. And our final anime for this video, and the one I know I'm gonna get the most shit for, is Soul Eater Not. Which, for those of you who might not actually know, or some of you that might sound like that's familiar, it is actually the spin-off series, or the somewhat sequel, to the original Soul Eater anime. Soul Eater Not is an anime that came out all the way back in 2014, between the time of April 9th and July 2nd. It was actually made by Studio Bones, which it's one of the big boys. I mean, Noragami, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, My Hero Academia, Gachi Yakuza, Mob Psycho. I mean, there's a plethora of anime that I could talk about when it comes to Studio Bones. Now, this is the one that a lot of people are going to come to me asking, why the hell is Soul Eater Not in the underrated anime list? It's a part of Soul Eater. It was actually somewhat notable all the way back in 2014. Why even talk about it? Well, as many of you know, Fire Force actually recently ended, and at the end they put a teaser out for saying next is Soul World, which people are assuming is the revamped Soul Eater anime. So Fire Force, Soul Eater, and all the properties associated with it are currently being talked about. And Soul Eater Not is once again getting a lot of shit for not being the sequel that everybody wanted. Now, underrated anime isn't necessarily just going to be unknown or obscure anime. It's anime that I believe either get too much flack, too much shit, or just not talked about enough. They could be actually popular and have somewhat of an audience, but they're anime that I think deserve a little bit more attention and a little bit more justice when they get in discussions. And Soul Eater Not is one of those anime that I feel gets too much shit. Now, to an extent, I can kind of understand it, with Soul Eater getting an anime-only ending that was very, very, very not fucking good. People were expecting something more, or at least something different from a new Soul Eater property. So when Soul Eater Not got announced, I think people were assuming that maybe we get a bit more action with it, at least for the anime-only fans. Only to find out that Soul Eater Not, while it does have some action in it, is actually more of a slice of life story. And well, you know, Battle Shonen fans, if it's not a Battle Shonen, they basically don't want it. And for that reason, I feel like Soul Eater Not gets a lot of shit for that reason. People were expecting another big action Soul Eater sequel or something at least within that universe. But that's not what people got. And so people get mad looking at it, saying that it's a bad spin-off, it's a bad sequel to follow up with, and honestly, that's just not true. Soul Eater Not is probably not the super battle action shonen that everybody wanted, but man, it's still a fun story to go through. I also still think it's nice that Okupo wanted to do a slice of life story, and it's nice to see a little bit of the lore being explored of how people just interact day to day in life and what people do at the academy. After all, it is an actual school overall, and while we see some of it in the actual Soul Eater show, it's not really delved super deep into. It's also nice to just see what type of different people actually live in this world, and Soul Eater Not gives us that glimpse. I actually appreciate IPs a lot more that could do these kind of multi-genre things. It makes them feel really expansive and really nice to delve into. Hey, call me crazy, and honestly, I don't think Okubo would ever do it in his life. But I think a romance anime would actually be pretty funny to look at in the Soul Eater world. It would both be the most wholesome and goofier shit to explore, but it'd be fun and it'd be nice and it'd be different. And I get the frustration as well, as anime-only fans and manga fans that really wanted the anime adaptation didn't get the ending that they wanted. So getting this felt like a double slap in the face. And yeah, I can understand that part, but at least be open to the idea of just exploring different stuff in the world like Soul Eater Not does. Like, I didn't just fall in love with Soul Eater and its action, I fell in love with Soul Eater and its world, its character, the way that it works, the rules that it implies, the wacky shit that happens around it. So to get an anime that actually does that, I appreciate that. I think Soul Eater fans that fell in love with the actual world and people appreciate Soul Eater Not for what it is. Is it a perfect anime? Hell no, it still has some issues. There's definitely a lot of downtime in it that's not super great, and the anime could be better told, if I'm being completely honest. But to see the rhetoric that's saying that it's garbage, it's one of the worst anime out there, it's completely terrible, that's just untrue. It's not the greatest anime, it's not like something that's a shining beacon, underrated, diamond in the rough story, but it is an enjoyable story, and it's a story that I appreciate for actually doing something different and giving me more lore and more information about a world I'm interested in. So if you're a Soul Eater fan or even a Fire Force fan, go ahead and check out Soul Eater Not. Please, I am begging you. It is a fun story to watch, and if you want more Soul Eater, it's honestly a pretty good thing to delve into. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for this video. If you guys have any underrated anime you would like me to check out that could potentially make it to the video, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. And subscribe for more of that, as I'm trying to upload more frequently over the weeks, as you can see from hopefully how this week has like 3 uploads with anime, manga, in this series. So if you want more of that good content, go ahead and check that out. I got a second channel where I do live streams. I'm going to be overdoing there. Follow my Twitch, follow my things, do all that good stuff. And if you want to support your boy, I got affiliate link down below and all the other good things. All of that is going to be in the description below. Thank you guys so much for sitting down and hearing me yap about some of these underrated, obscure, or overly hated anime. I appreciate y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.
I'm like so gay.